I saw the ivory tower. It was briefly under an emergency shutdown. It was at a time when they least expected it.
So it looked like a swan. It was in the high heavens. A movement within those stars.
Large comet swan was described.
Comet swan also continues to grow.
It is called comet swan.
Prophecy, a message from an otherworldly dimension delivered to you by heaven's chosen vessel. There are, as it were, many voices. What voice shall you hear? Greater than the knowledge of this world, greater than the experts of the natural system, greater than even your past experience, is the word of heaven. What will you choose to esteem?
Cordoba. I believe Cordoba is a city in Spain or Portugal. I know it's on the Iberian Peninsula. Cordoba. Cordoba. So, I believe it's in Spain. So I see what happened. I see what happened centuries back, the Islamic invasion. But it seems there arises cries again, like pushing it against it. And there are cries, people like rise up against this Islamic thing. And they rise and they say, Crusade, Crusade. You know, it was, those who know history, you know how those things are. And then it seemed this spirit of like pushing back against a sudden realization that we are under actually a soft invasion. It begins to pop up. The first place I saw was across the channel, the English channel, that is in the UK. And then I saw it then popping up also in a few places across the continent, the greater European continent. And you know, that's why we talk about this, the gospel of this kingdom being in nations, not in just in individuals. Because you see, when these people began to be turned away from believing the God of the Bible, the enemy was preparing their hearts, you know, to bring in the foreign gods. That's what, and you know, for them now, he told them, move away from the God of the Bible. It's no longer scientific. It's no longer even modern. And you know, because they excelled in that carnal lie and departed from spirituality. And you know, nature abhors vacuum. And when the spirit of vacuum was created, evil must come in.
Cordoba, Spain. Currently, this is a city in modern-day Spain. But centuries back, the whole of central and southern Portugal and Spain made up the Islamic Caliphate of Cordoba. From the 8th century to 1498 in the 15th century, following an invasion, this was Islamic territory until it was reconquered by military means and Christianity was restored. Centuries later, military attacks were launched by the Christian kingdoms of Europe against the Islamic jihadists and invaders. But who knew that after so many centuries, the Crusades against Islam would be rekindled in Europe? And to whom was this unfolding mystery revealed?
They say, Crusade, Crusade!
The prophet of God saw history in the future. And now, just months later, that future is history, for the words of the prophet began to swiftly unfold. These modern-day crusades against Islam have been branded with a new name, Islamophobia. True to the word of the Lord by his choice prophet, protests began to erupt across Europe, all calling against the further perceived Islamization of present-day Europe. Across the English Channel refers to the British Isles. Here too, the inescapable weight of the word of this prophet was felt.
It begins to pop up. The first place I saw was across the channel, the English channel, that is in the UK. And then I saw it then popping up also in a few places across the continent, the greater European continent.
The continent refers to mainland Europe, and here too, the word of the prophet unfolded with great force. In July 2020, Turkey converted an ancient Christian cathedral, the Hagia Sophia, into a mosque. Later, another ancient church was also converted into a mosque, and Muslims immediately began to pray there. This controversy struck such bitterness from Christians across the world that several protests were held against the move. This included Greece, which is traditionally home of the Orthodox Church. Protests also broke out across Italy, the home of the Roman Catholic Church. The largest population of Orthodox Christians reside in Russia, the northernmost and largest country in Europe. Here too, there were protests against Muslim Turkey's conversion of ancient Orthodox cathedrals into mosques. At the start of September 2020, there began a court trial over the deadly terrorist attacks on the French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo 5 years ago in 2015. These new trials have sparked a round of anti-Islamic sentiment across France. The words of Prophet Andrew went so far as to unfold beyond Europe. All this unfolded precisely as the prophet of God uttered. There has never been a year with such widespread crusading against Islam in Europe. This is even more fascinating as these events unfolded within the coronavirus pandemic, where social gatherings were largely restricted by the infamous statewide lockdowns. What is the message of high heaven through this prophet?
And then the Lord said, tough words, eh? But as I've said in Hosea chapter 6 verse 5, I was also sent to heal and to cut down and to uproot. So the Lord said, tell them, because they were not rising through the church, but they had realized that something is wrong. Then the Lord told them, tell them it is too little and too late. But for their bravery and courage, I will relent and show mercy. And then he went on and said, this shall be the mercy, that the corruption shall not consume totally. The corruption, he was talking about this thing that is coming in. He said, I will spare pockets. And then he said pockets, but then I saw like cities of refuge. There shall be some cities spared. But then he said, but France shall fall.
When the Lord backs up his word with manifestations, how do you respond? When God sends forth his prophet, will you receive the gift of God? I have told you this ahead of time, before it happens, so that when it does happen, the confirmation will deepen your belief in me.